Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are opening up a stack of notes that, I'll be honest, it really kept me up last night.
Oh, yeah.
We are looking at a book that has been this quiet phenomenon. It started in Asia, Japan specifically, and now it is just catching fire everywhere. It's called The Courage to be Disliked.
It is a fascinating piece of work. And it's really not your typical self-help book, is it?
No, not even close. I mean, usually when we grab a book from this genre, you expect a charismatic guru on the cover, arms crossed, telling you to wake up at 4 a.m. or something.
Yeah, drink a green smoothie, organize your sock drawer.
Exactly, to manifest your destiny. But this is, well, it's a Socratic dialogue. It reads like a play. It's literally just a conversation between a cynical, really dissatisfied young man and a philosopher.
And through that conversation, which gets pretty heated at times, almost uncomfortable, we get introduced to the psychology of Alfred Adler.
And that name, Adler, that's the first thing we really need to flag here. Because we always hear about the big three of psychology.
Yeah.
There's Freud, obviously. There's Jung. But Adler is this third giant that history, or at least pop culture, seems to have forgotten.
Which is so ironic because as we went through the research for this, it became so clear that Adler is basically the grandfather of almost all modern self-help. Yeah. If you've read Stephen Covey or Dale Carnegie, even modern researchers like Brené Brown, you have been reading Adlerian concepts without even knowing it. The man was way ahead of his time.
But the mission of this deep dive isn't just a history lesson. We're here to unpack some ideas that are genuinely radical.
Right.
And I do not use that word lightly.
Oh, they are incredibly confronting. They challenge the very bedrock of how we think about our own lives.
Right. We're talking about the idea that happiness is purely a choice you can make, like, right now, instantly. That true freedom requires you to actually be disliked by other people. And then the big one, the one that made me want to close the document immediately, the claim that trauma does not exist.
That is the hurdle. That is the one everyone trips over. It's the red pill of Adlerian psychology.
It just feels so dismissive, doesn't it? To say trauma doesn't exist. We know bad things happen. We know people suffer from abuse, war, poverty.
Yeah.
We have decades of research on PTSD. Is Adler really saying those things aren't real?
No, and we have to be so precise here because this is where people get angry, and rightly so if it's misunderstood. Adler and the authors of this book, they are not saying that painful events don't happen. Okay. They aren't saying you don't feel grief or pain. What they are challenging is the mechanism of how that pain shapes your future. To get this, we have to understand the fundamental split between Freud and Adler. It's this battle between etiology and teleology.
Okay, let's break those terms down because this is the foundation for everything else we're going to discuss. Etiology versus teleology. It sounds like academic jargon, but it really dictates how we see our entire life.
It really does. So etiology is the study of causation. This is the water we all swim in. It's the standard Freudian view. A causes B. You are the way you are now because of what happened to you in the past. If your parents were cold to you, you have anxiety today. If you were bullied, you're shy today. It's deterministic. The past dictates the present.
Which feels so intuitively true. It's the narrative we all have, right? I have trust issues because of my ex, or I'm bad with money because I grew up poor. We just draw a straight line from the past event to the current problem.
Exactly. It connects the dots in a way that feels logical, but then Adler comes in with teleology. Teleology is the study of purpose or goals.
Goals, okay.
Adler argues that we as human beings are not driven by causes. We are induced by goals. We aren't pushed from behind by the past. We are pulled forward by a goal that we ourselves set, even if we're not consciously aware of it.
Wow. Okay, that is a massive shift. So instead of because of, it's in order to.
Precisely. Let's look at the example from the book because the shut-in story is where this really clicked, Renu.
Yes, the recluse. So the youth in the book, he has a friend who hasn't left his room in years. And when he tries to step outside, his heart races, he starts shaking, he gets nauseous.
Classic anxiety symptoms.
Totally. And the youth argues, look, he has trauma. Maybe his parents were abusive or he was bullied. That past caused this fear. He physically cannot go out.
And that's the etiology view right there.
Yeah.
The cause, the past created the effect, the anxiety. It paints the friend as a victim of his history, completely powerless.
Right. But the philosopher just flips it completely. He says, no, your friend has the goal of not going out.
The goal comes first.
The goal comes first. That implies he wants to stay inside.
According to Adler, yes. His goal is, I don't want to go out. And then we have to ask why. Maybe he doesn't want to face the risk of rejection in the real world. Maybe he wants to keep his parents' worry focused entirely on him. It's a way of being special, of securing attention.
So, in order to achieve the goal of staying inside, he manufactures the anxiety and the fear.
He manufactures it.
But is he faking it? Because that sounds an awful lot like victim blaming.
It does, but that's a crucial distinction. Not faking. The symptoms are real. He really is sweating. His heart rate is through the roof. He's shaking. But Adler's point is that he is creating those biological symptoms as a means to achieve his goal.
As a tool.
As a tool. If he didn't have the anxiety, he'd have no excuse. He'd have to go out and face the world. The anxiety is the tool he uses to justify his choice to stay inside.
That's heavy.
Yeah.
Because it suggests he's doing it to himself. It assigns agency where we usually just assign victimhood.
It does,
Yeah.
and that's why it's so controversial. Think about it, though. If the past determines the present, we're just machines. We're the sum of our inputs. If you are abused, you are broken, and you can't fix it because you can't go back in a time machine and change the past.
Which is hopeless. It's a dead end.
It leads to nihilism. It says, I am this way and I can't help it. But if Adler's right, if we're acting according to a goal, then we can simply change the goal.
Just change the goal.
The book has this powerful quote. We do not suffer from the shock of our experiences, the so-called trauma, but instead, we make out of them whatever suits our purposes. We determine our own lives according to the meaning we give to those past experiences.
So the event happened. That's a fact.
Yeah.
That's real. But the narrative, the story of I am damaged and can't function, that's a choice I'm making to serve a current goal.
Precisely. It serves a purpose. As long as I'm the victim, I demand special treatment. I have a valid excuse for not trying and failing. Adler calls this the life lie. We lie to ourselves to avoid the responsibility of actually living. We use our trauma as a shield.
Wow. It's empowering, but it's also terrifying. It completely takes away your excuses. You can't just blame your childhood anymore. You have to look in the mirror and ask, what is the goal I am serving by acting this way?
It removes the luxury of being a victim of circumstance.
Yeah.
And once you start seeing goals instead of causes, you see it everywhere, especially with emotions.
Oh, the coffee spill story. This one blew my mind when it comes to anger. Because I think most of us feel like emotions are things that just happen to us. You know, like the weather. A storm of anger came over me.
Right. We treat them like biological reflexes we can't control.
Right.
The youth in the book argues exactly that. He tells a story about a waiter spilling coffee on his brand new jacket. And he says he just blew his top. He started yelling instantly.
He argues, I didn't choose to get angry. It was uncontrollable. The anger made me yell.
And the philosopher says, no, you didn't yell because you were angry. You generated anger so that you could yell.
It sounds so backwards, doesn't it? But if you think about the goal, what was the goal in that interaction?
I guess to get the waiter to apologize or to feel superior, to make a point quickly, to make him submit. You wanted to overpower him, to make him listen, to assert your dominance instantly. Logic would have taken too long. Excuse me, you spilled this. I'll need you to pay for it. That's slow.
Right. Being polite might not have gotten the dry cleaning bill paid as fast.
Exactly. So you reached into your toolkit, you pulled out the tool of anger, you used it to shout, and you achieved your goal of submission. Then you put the tool away.
It feels so instinctive, though. Can we really switch emotions on and off like a light switch?
Adler says yes, and the book provides the phone call proof. I love this example because we have all seen it, or let's be honest, done it.
Oh, totally. A mother is screaming at her child, full volumes, red face, just pure rage. She is absolutely losing it. Then the phone rings.
She picks it up. Hello. Her voice is instantly sweet, polite, calm. It's the school teacher calling. She chats normally for 5 minutes, maybe laughs a little, makes plans for the PTA meeting.
Right.
Then she hangs up and instantly goes back to screaming at the child.
If anger were an uncontrollable biological eruption like vomiting or sneezing, she couldn't just turn it off to answer the phone.
Exactly. She was using the anger to control the child. When the goal changed, which was to impress the teacher, the anger was put away because it wasn't useful for that goal. When the goal returned to controlling the child, the anger was brought back out.
So emotions are tools. We're not controlled by them. We use them.
We use them.
That's a hard pill to swallow because it implies that when I'm shouting at my partner or, sulking in a corner, I'm doing it on purpose. I'm choosing to be angry because I think it will get me what I want.
You're doing it to achieve a result, maybe to make them feel guilty, maybe to get them to leave you alone. But yes, fundamentally, it's a choice. And realizing that is the first step to actually controlling it.
So if we choose our emotions,
Yeah.
We choose the meaning of our past. That leads us to this idea of lifestyle. And Adler uses this word differently than we do, right? It's not about yoga and avocado toast.
No, definitely not. In Adlerian psychology, lifestyle is what we might call personality or character. It's your worldview. It's the lens through which you see yourself in the world. Things like, I'm a pessimist, or the world is dangerous, or people are out to get me, or I am capable.
And the kicker is, Adler claims we choose this lifestyle around age 10.
Roughly, yes. Based on our early environment, our family, our experiences, we make a fundamental decision about how to survive and thrive in the world.
Like a strategy.
It's a strategy for life. A child might decide, okay, I need to be a people pleaser to be safe, or maybe I need to be aggressive to get what I want. You adopt a strategy.
But the hopeful part of this is, if we chose it, we can choose again.
That is the core message of the entire book. You can change your lifestyle at any moment. You can choose a new worldview. You are not stuck with the personality you formed when you were 10 years old.
So why don't we, if I can just choose to be happy, why am I and why are so many other people often unhappy? Why do we stay stuck in patterns that make us miserable?
Because of what the book calls the paradox of unhappiness. This is where the psychology gets really, really deep. The philosopher argues that people are unhappy because, on some level, they judge being unhappy to be good for them.
How can unhappiness be good? That makes no sense. Who wants to be miserable?
Think about comfort. Not in the sense of pleasure, but in the sense of familiarity. If I keep my current lifestyle, even if I'm miserable, even if I'm cynical, I know what to expect.
It's predictable.
I know how to handle the misery. I have a script. I know who I am in this state. It's the devil, you know. It's safe.
Right.
Now, if I choose a new lifestyle, I don't know what will happen. I might fail. I might be rejected. The unknown is terrifying. So Adler says we have the courage not to change. We prefer the certainty of our misery to the anxiety of the unknown.
There's that example of the aspiring novelist in the notes. That one felt like a personal attack, I'm not going to lie.
Oh, it hits close to home for a lot of us. The guy who dreams of writing a novel but never actually writes.
Well, he says he's too busy or doesn't have the time or the environment isn't right. He enters a prize competition but never sends in the manuscript.
But Adler says he's not writing on purpose because he doesn't write to keep the possibility alive. As long as he doesn't write the book, he can tell himself and he can tell others, I could be a genius if I just had the time. He lives in the realm of I could do it. He can bask in that potential.
But if he actually writes the book and it sucks,
the illusion is shattered. He has to face his own lack of talent. He has to face reality. So he uses the excuse of lack of time as a shield to protect his ego from the reality of potential failure. He creates a reason not to do it so he can stay safely in the world of potential.
So we hold on to our unhappiness, our excuses, and even our trauma because they protect us from the risk of living. It's safer to say, I can't, than to try and fail.
Yes, it's a protection mechanism, and realizing that is the only way to dismantle it, you have to value the attempt more than the safety of the excuse.
Okay, so we've established that we create our own worldviews, we use emotions as tools, but we don't live in a vacuum. A huge part of this book is about other people. In fact, Adler drops this massive statement that's like the headline for his whole social theory. All problems are interpersonal relationship problems.
All of them. Without exception.
That seems really extreme.
Yeah.
But what about, like, hunger? Or just feeling lonely? Or feeling ugly? Those feel like internal problems to me.
Well, the philosopher uses this great thought experiment, the planet of one. Imagine you are the only human being in the entire universe. No one else exists, no history of people, just you.
Okay, I'm alone on Earth. A sci-fi movie scenario.
In that world, loneliness doesn't exist. Why? Because you have no concept of others to be missing. You wouldn't even know what lonely felt like because the idea of connection wouldn't exist.
Right, and embarrassment wouldn't exist. Who am I embarrassed in front of?
Exactly. Money is just worthless paper because there's no one to trade with. Even your appearance. If you think you're too short or your nose is too big,
it wouldn't matter. There's no standard of comparison. I'm not short because tall doesn't exist. I'm not poor because rich doesn't exist.
You're just you. So your internal worry about being short is actually an external comparison to other people. Internal worry is a myth. The shadow of others is always present in our problems. We are constantly comparing, judging, and competing.
This leads right into the idea of inferiority. I think we tend to view any feeling of inferiority as a bad thing, We try to have high self-esteem. But Adler says feeling inferior is actually healthy.
And it starts as healthy, yes. I mean, humans enter the world as helpless babies. We have a primal desire to improve, to grow, to escape that initial helplessness. Adler calls this the pursuit of superiority.
But not superiority over other people.
No, and that is the crucial distinction. Ideally, it's superiority over your past self. It's simply the drive to grow and improve. And that gap, the gap between where you are now and where you want to be, that's the feeling of inferiority.
So it's a launch pad.
It's a launch pad. I'm not good at math, so I will study hard. I'm out of shape, so I will exercise. That's healthy. That's progress.
But then there's the inferiority complex.
Right. Don't confuse the healthy feeling of inferiority with the inferiority complex. The feeling is a spur to action. The complex is an excuse. It's when you say, I'm not good at math, therefore I cannot succeed. You use the lack of ability as a reason to give up.
It's the A is the situation, so B cannot be done formula.
Exactly. It's another form of that life lie. You're using the feeling to stop yourself from even trying.
There's a shield again.
Yes. But there's a flip side to this, which I found so fascinating. The superiority complex.
This is so counterintuitive. We usually think people who show off are just really confident. We think they have huge egos.
Adler says the exact opposite. He says, and I'm quoting here, the one who boasts does so only out of a feeling of inferiority.
Only out of inferiority.
Only. If you were truly confident in your value, you wouldn't need to announce it. You wouldn't need to constantly prove it. People with a superiority complex are fabricating their value.
Like what? What are the signs?
They drop names, they wear excessive luxury brands, not for the quality, but purely for the status. They brag about past glory. They're terrified that if they stop performing, people will realize they're ordinary. They're trying to hide their deep fear that they're worthless.
And there's a really twisted version of this that the book mentions, right? Bragging about misfortune.
Oh, this is so common in our culture right now. It's when someone uses their trauma or their suffering as a weapon.
You don't understand how hard I've had it. I'm the most sensitive, damaged person here.
It's like misery poker. I fold, your childhood was worse, you win. But look at the goal. By being the most unfortunate, they become special. They demand careful treatment. They control the room.
They get power from it.
Adler says, in our culture, weakness can be quite strong and powerful. Think of a baby.
A baby is the weakest thing imaginable. It can't walk, can't talk, can't feed itself.
But the baby rules the household. No one can control the baby, but the baby controls everyone. If the baby cries, everyone jumps. Some adults try to keep that power. They use their fragility to dominate those around them. They weaponize their weakness so no one can criticize them.
That is a mind-bending way to look at victimhood.
Yeah.
As a power play.
It is. And the antidote to all of this, the competitiveness, the comparing, the misery poker, is to completely change how we view other people. Most of us view life as a ladder or a race. If I win, you lose.
Which makes everyone an enemy. If you get a promotion, that's one less promotion for me. If you're happy, I feel like I'm falling behind.
Right. If life is a competition, you can never relax. Even if you're at the top, you're terrified of falling. You can't genuinely celebrate a friend's success because it feels like your defeat.
Yeah.
You are constantly looking over your shoulder.
So what's the alternative? How do we stop racing?
Imagine a flat plain, a vast empty field. We are all walking on it. Some are ahead, some are behind, some are walking fast, some slow. But we aren't fighting. We aren't racing to a finish line because there is no finish line. We are just moving forward. We are comrades.
Equal but not the same.
Yes. A child is not the same as an adult. They have less knowledge, less responsibility, but they are equal as human beings. If you can shift your mindset from enemy to comrade, the need for superiority just vanishes. You can just be. You can focus on your own walk.
Okay, that sounds beautiful. Everyone is my comrade, but let's get real. Relationships are hard. People are annoying. They intrude. They judge. They have expectations. My boss yells at me. My parents want me to get married. Even if I view them as comrades, they're still stressing me out.
And this brings us to what I think is the most practical, actionable tool in the entire book. If you take one thing away from this deep dive, let it be this: the separation of tasks.
The Gordian knot solution.
Exactly. The legend goes, there was this knot so complex that whoever untied it would rule Asia. Alexander the Great looked at it, realized it was impossible to untie, so he pulled out his sword and just chopped it in half. That is the separation of tasks. It cuts right through the tangle of interpersonal stress.
So how do we do it? How do we separate these tasks in real life?
You ask one simple question: Who ultimately receives the result of the choice?
Okay, give us the classic example from the book, the child who won't study.
Okay, a child won't do their homework. The parents yell, they hover, they hire tutors, they threaten. It's a war zone in the house every night.
I think we've all been there on one side or the other.
Right. But apply the question, whose task is studying? It's the child's task. And who receives the result of not studying?
A child does. They get the bad grades, they don't get into the college they want, they struggle in class.
Right. It is their life.
Yeah.
When the parent forces the child to study, the parent is intruding on the child's task. They're trying to live the child's life for them. They're taking on a burden that isn't theirs to carry.
But wait, as a parent, isn't it my job to make sure they succeed? If I just say, well, not my task, isn't that just neglect?
This is the common objection, and it's a good one. Separating tasks is not abandoning the child. It's about knowing your role. Adler says, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
Yeah.
If you force the horse to drink, you don't get a hydrated horse. You get a relationship based on coercion and rebellion.
So what is the parent's task in that situation?
To provide the environment, to support, to say, I am here and I'm ready to help you whenever you want to study. But the final decision to drink the water is the child's. If you try to control it, the child stops studying to learn and starts studying to appease you. Or they refuse to study just to punish you. It becomes a power struggle, not education.
I can see that. It creates a healthy distance. But does this apply to adults? The outline mentions the unreasonable boss.
Oh, this is huge for workplace stress. Imagine you have a boss who yells, who's irrational, and is just plain mean.
I don't have to imagine. I've been there. You go home feeling terrible. You think, I can't do my job because he's so awful. You try to figure out what you did wrong.
Adler would say that is a lie.
Explain.
The boss's anger is the boss's task. It is his problem to resolve his own emotional regulation. It is not your task to be liked by him, or to fix his mood, or to even understand why he's angry.
But he's yelling at me.
It affects you, sure. But if you separate the tasks, you don't take it personally. You can look at him and think, he is having a tantrum. That is his issue. My task is to focus on this spreadsheet and do good work.
That is hard. That's really hard.
It is. But when you try to manage other people's feelings, when you try to be liked, or you try to keep the peace by walking on eggshells, you are intruding on their tasks. You are trying to control what they think of you, and you can't control that. You're taking responsibility for their emotions.
That leads right into the title of the book, doesn't it? Because if I stop trying to control what you think of me,
You gain the courage to be disliked.
we usually equate freedom with, having options, having enough money to travel, or not having a boss. But Adler is saying freedom is being disliked. Why?
Because if you are disliked by someone, it is proof that you are living according to your own principles.
Unpack that for us.
Okay, think about it. If your goal is nobody dislikes me, how do you have to live your life? You have to please everyone. You have to constantly check which way the wind is blowing. You have to be a chameleon.
You're living other people's lives, not your own. You're a slave to their recognition.
Exactly. The desire for recognition. Adler denies it completely. He says you should not live to satisfy the expectations of others. And this is just as important. Others are not there to satisfy your expectations.
That sounds really selfish to a lot of people. Like, I'll just do what I want and I don't care about you.
It's not I don't care about you. It's I don't depend on your validation for my worth. And there is a huge, huge difference. If I am disliked by you, it means I showed you my true self and it didn't match your expectations. That's okay. That disappointment is your task to handle, not mine. I am free.
So real freedom is the ability to stand up and say, this is who I am, knowing that some people won't like it, and not letting that stop you.
And being okay with that, not enjoying it. Adler isn't saying you should be a jerk or try to be hated, but not fearing it. The cost of freedom is the possibility of being disliked.
This connects to a bigger, almost mystical concept the book talks about, community feeling. Because if we just separate tasks all the time, aren't we just a bunch of isolated individuals? I'm me, you're you, stay away from my task.
That's the danger, and that's a common misreading. The separation of tasks is the gateway. It's not the destination. It's the tool you use to clear up the mess so you can then build real, healthy relationships. The ultimate goal is community feeling. It's moving from attachment to self to concern for others.
Wait, but didn't we just say we shouldn't care what others think? Isn't that attachment to self?
Paradoxically, people who are obsessed with being liked are the most self-centered people of all.
How so? They seem so selfless, always trying to please other people.
But why are they pleasing others? To protect themselves, to secure their status. They are obsessed with how they are perceived. They look at every single person and think, what can this person do for me? Will they like me? They think they are the protagonist of the movie.
The map versus the globe analogy.
Yes. If you look at a map of France, France is in the center. But on a globe, there is no center. You are not the center of the world. You are just a part of a community.
And this community isn't just, my office or my town.
It's infinite. It's the past, the future, the entire universe, plants, animals, everything. This sounds abstract, but it has a very practical application. Imagine you're being bullied at school.
Okay.
In that moment, the school is your whole world. You feel like your life is over because the community of that school has rejected you.
It's the storm in a teacup.
Right. But if you can zoom out and listen to the voice of the larger community, you realize school is just one tiny teacup. You are a citizen of the universe. There are other places, other people, other communities. If the relationship in that teacup cracks, you can just leave it. You don't have to cling to it.
That gives you a lot of resilience. If my boss hates me, well, I'm still a member of society, a friend, a volunteer, a citizen. My worth isn't defined by this one tiny community.
Exactly. You have inherent value beyond that small interaction.
So let's bring this down to the ground. How do we build these good relationships? If we aren't seeking praise and we aren't competing, how do we actually interact? Adler talks about horizontal relationships.
This is the practical how-to. Most of our relationships are vertical, parent over child, boss over employee, rich over poor. And in these vertical relationships, we use carrots and sticks, we praise and we rebuke.
Wait, praise is bad. I praise my kids all the time. Good job. I thought that was positive parenting 101.
In Adlerian psychology, yes, praise is problematic. Think about the dynamic. When do you praise someone? You praise someone who is beneath you or who did something you wanted them to do. A mother says good job to a child who ties their shoes. Does she say good job to her husband when he ties his shoes?
No. That would be weirdly condescending. Good job putting on your tie, honey.
Exactly. Good job. Implies judgment. It implies I am the capable one judging you, the incapable one. It reinforces the hierarchy. It keeps the relationship vertical.
It's manipulation, really.
It creates dependency. If a child only cleans their room to get praise, they won't clean it when no one is watching. They're working for the reward. They're constantly looking for your validation. They aren't doing it because they're part of the community. They're doing it for the carrot.
So what do we do instead? If my kid draws a picture or my colleague helps me out, I can't just stare at them silently.
You use encouragement. Encouragement is based on gratitude and equality. You say, thank you, or that was a big help. I'm glad you're here. This picture you drew makes me feel happy.
It sounds subtle. Is there really that much of a difference between good job and thank you?
It's profound. Praise judges the person. You are a good boy. Encouragement acknowledges the contribution. Thanks for helping. When people feel that they have contributed, they feel they have worth. And this is the golden nugget. Adler says, courage comes from feeling you have worth.
So we don't praise them to give them confidence. We thank them to show them their contribution, which then allows them to build their own courage.
Yes, I have value because I contribute to the community. That is the engine of happiness. If you can feel that I am of use to someone, you don't need to be liked by everyone. You have your own internal sense of worth.
This brings us to the here and now. The book ends on this very philosophical note.
It does. It attacks the idea of living your life on a line, always focused on the past or the future. If you are mired in trauma, you are living in the past. If you're full of anxiety, you're living in the future. But life is just a series of moments. It's like a dance.
A dance.
When you dance, you aren't trying to get to the end of the dance. The point isn't to reach the other side of the room. You are just dancing. The goal is the movement itself. Adler says we should live like that, earnestly in the present moment. Not treating today as a means to get to some future goal, but as the goal itself.
There's a story the philosopher tells about his own father that really brought all of these concepts together for me. It was the moment the book went from, pure theory to heart.
Yes. It's a very touching end to the dialogue. The philosopher had a terrible relationship with his father. He was hit as a child. For years, he held on to that grudge. He thought, my life is messed up because my father hit me.
That's etiology, cause and effect. He justified his distance and his coldness by blaming the past.
But then he switched to teleology. He had this realization, I am bringing up the memory of being hit because I don't want to repair the relationship.
Whoa! He was using the memory as a shield.
Exactly. His goal was to keep the distance. As long as he was the victim, he didn't have to try. He didn't have to face the awkwardness and vulnerability of fixing things. He held all the interpersonal cards. He was in control as long as he was the injured party.
So what did he do?
He decided to change his goal. He resolved to repair the relationship, regardless of what his father did or said. He stopped waiting for his father to apologize. He just started caring for him in his old age. He separated the tasks. It is my task to help my father. It is his task to react however he wants.
And what happened?
Eventually, his father, who was this stubborn, silent man his whole life, said thank you. And in that moment, the trauma was gone. Not because the past changed, the hitting still happened, but because the meaning of it changed. The relationship changed in the here and now. The philosopher realized he had been holding himself prisoner all along.
That puts the power squarely back in our hands. We aren't waiting for an apology that might never come. We aren't waiting for the other person to change.
That is the core message of this whole philosophy. You hold the cards. You don't have to wait for the world to change. You don't have to wait for your parents to apologize or for your boss to become nice. You can choose a new lifestyle right now. You can separate your tasks. You can choose to be disliked.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? We've covered a lot, from teleology to lifestyle to the separation of tasks.
It asks a really hard question. Are you holding on to a past trauma to justify not trying today?
Are you fabricating anger to control the people around you?
And are you willing to let go of the desire to be liked, to cut that Gordian knot and just be yourself?
The courage to be happy includes the courage to be disliked. It's a terrifying thought, but as we've learned today, it might just be the only path to real freedom.
Absolutely. It's simple, but it is not easy.
We're going to leave you with that thought. Go out there, contribute, maybe say thank you instead of good job, and maybe, just maybe, be okay with someone not liking you today. Thanks for diving in with us.
See you next time.